At the Port Authority bus terminal. My husband bought me a coffee. Drink up, honey. It's a long ride, he said. His voice dripping with affection. I drank and the world began to blur. As he helped me onto the bus, he whispered, "In an hour, you won't even remember your own name." I realized this was the end. But suddenly, a man appeared, stared at me intently, and said, "It can't be. Is that you after all these years? My God. You're trembling. What have they done to you?" But before I go on, tell me in the comments where you're listening to my story from. I'm dying to know how far it's traveling. I woke up that Saturday morning to find Richard already out of bed. A rare occurrence. My husband. 33 years of marriage. 33 years of waking up next to the same man. And it still surprised me when he got up before I did. Morning. My love. Ready for your trip? My mother had just been discharged from the hospital in Montauk after a bout of pneumonia that nearly took her. Richard had suggested I go visit. Spend a few days with her. Carmen. You deserve a break. I really did. 3 boutiques to manage. 20 employees to coordinate. Suppliers. Clients. Accounts. Sometimes I forgot how I'd gotten there. From a small stall at a flea market in Queens to the small fashion empire I'd built. Everything in my name. The stores. The apartment on the Upper West Side. The car. Richard had his wine import business, which in 33 years had never turned a profit. But marriage is like that, isn't it? You carry the weight together. Or so I thought. Are you sure you don't want to fly? He asked while I packed. You'd be there in an hour. My stomach lurched at the thought. You know I can't get on those things. Richard. I'm terrified. The bus is fine. It's only a couple of hours. He didn't insist. He never insisted. I packed a small bag. I was only staying for 3 days and put in some comfortable clothes. Richard paced around the apartment, checking his watch every 5 minutes. The bus leaves at 10. Carmen. We should probably get going. Calm down. I still have time. Traffic. My love. A Saturday morning can be tricky. He was acting strange. Anxious. But I chalked it up to him being worried about my mother. While I was doing my makeup in the bathroom, my cell phone rang. It was Amanda. My daughter. If I did one thing right in this life, it was raising that girl. 30 years old. A family law attorney. My best friend. We spoke every day. Had lunch together every week. She was the only person who truly knew me. Hey. Mom. Everything okay? Everything's fine. Honey. I'm just getting ready to head to Montauk. Oh. That's right. You're going to see Grandma. Give her a kiss for me. I will. Amanda paused. I knew that. Pause. Mom. Are you really okay? I am. Sweetie. Why? I don't know. I have a weird feeling. Amanda always had that. Ever since she was little. She could sense things before they happened. And she had never liked her father. When she was 16, she came home crying. Said she'd seen her father at the mall holding hands with some woman. I refused to believe it. I fought with her. Told her she was making it up. Amanda never brought it up again. But her gaze changed. Every time she looked at Richard, there was something different in her eyes. Suspicion contained anger. I noticed. But I pretended I didn't. It's easier to ignore the signs than to face the truth. I'm fine. Honey. Don't worry. Okay. Mom. Call me when you get there. Okay. I will. Love you. Love you. Too. Mom. So much. I hung up with a tightness in my chest. I finished getting ready and found Richard in the living room. My suitcase in his hand. Ready. Ready. He smiled. A strange smile. A smile I had never seen before. If I had known what was waiting for me at that bus station, I would have hugged my daughter one last time. I would have told her she was right about her father all along. But I didn't know. And so I went to the Port Authority terminal on that Saturday morning. Richard. The Montauk bus leaves from the lower level. They changed companies. My love. This one is better. Newer buses. I didn't question it. Richard always handled these things. Families going on trips. Kids with backpacks. Seniors with shopping bags. The roar of engines. Announcements over the PA system. People running not to miss their bus. I've always found bus stations to be sad places. Goodbyes. Longing. Distances. Richard was carrying my suitcase. That was strange. He never carried anything for me. In 33 years. I couldn't remember a single time he'd offered to carry my things. But I was too tired to question. Too tired to be suspicious. He was sweating. Looking from side to side every 2 seconds. As if he were looking for someone or as if he were afraid of being seen. Are you okay? Richard. I'm fine. My love. It's just hot in here. It wasn't hot. The terminal was air-conditioned. But I let it go. I'll go get you a coffee, he said. Wait here. He rushed off before I could answer. He came back 2 minutes later with a paper cup in his hand. Here so you don't fall asleep on the trip. I took the coffee. It was hot with that nice aroma. I took a sip. It had a slightly bitter taste. Different than usual. But I attributed it to bus station coffee. Bus station coffee is never good. I took another sip and another. Richard watched me with a strange intensity. As if he were waiting for something. Come on. My love. Your bus is about to leave. He led me to the platform. My head started to feel strange. Light. As if I were floating. Richard. I'm feeling dizzy. It's the heat. My love. It'll get better once the bus hits the road. My legs started to give out. I tried to lean on him and he held me tight. Too tight. Come on. Carmen. I'll help you up. He practically carried me onto the bus. My vision was so blurry. I couldn't read anything. Not the bus number. Not the destination on the electronic sign. The driver looked at us strangely. But said nothing. Richard showed him my ticket. When had he bought that? I couldn't remember. He led me to a seat in the back. I could barely keep my eyes open. The world was spinning. Voices sounded like they were coming from far away. Richard leaned over me. His face was close to mine. So close I could feel his breath in my ear. And then he whispered. In an hour. You won't even remember your own name. I tried to scream. To stand up. To do something. But my body wouldn't obey. It was like I was trapped inside myself. Watching everything happen without being able to react. Richard pulled away. Looked at me one last time with a smile I'll never forget. A smile of victory. Of relief. Of cruelty. Goodbye. Carmen. He got off the bus without looking back. With great effort. I managed to turn my head to the side. I saw him through the window. Walking calmly through the terminal. As if nothing had happened. As if he hadn't just destroyed the life of the woman he'd been married to for 33 years. The bus started to move. My consciousness was slipping away. The images became blurrier. The sounds more distant. I knew I was dying. Not in a physical sense. But in a worse way. I was being erased. The last thing I thought of before almost losing consciousness was Amanda. She was right. She was always right. And I never apologized. The bus stopped. I don't know how much time had passed. Minutes. Hours. Time had lost its meaning. I was in a state between consciousness and sleep. Between life and death. Rest. Stop. I think that's what the driver had announced. Mandatory break for the driver. Passengers started to get up. I tried to do the same. But my body wouldn't obey. My legs were shaking. My head was spinning. Sweat poured down my face. A woman sitting in front of me looked back and screamed. "This woman is sick. Somebody help." Voices. So many voices. People running. Someone tried to lift me. I couldn't speak. I couldn't explain what was happening. They carried me off the bus. The fresh air hit my face. They sat me on a bench outside the rest stop building. People gathered around looking with curiosity, concern, fear. The driver was yelling, "Someone call 911. I was going to die there." That's what I thought. I was going to die at a rest stop on I-95. Without knowing why my husband had done this to me. Without being able to say goodbye to my daughter. And then I heard a voice. "I'm a doctor." What happened? A man's voice. Firm. Authoritative. The voice of someone who knew what they were doing. I felt hands on my face. Firm but gentle. Someone lifted my eyelids. Looked into my eyes. I heard him rummaging through my purse. Looking for my ID. And then the voice changed from professional to shocked. Carmen. Carmen Prarao. I tried to focus to see who was speaking. A blurry face in front of me. A man. Graying hair. Brown eyes. Familiar. So familiar. Paul. My voice came out as a whisper. But he heard it. My God. After all these years. What happened to you? Paul. Paul Roberts. The shy kid from our high school in White Plains 40 years ago. He was skinny. Wore glasses. And was always being picked on by the bullies. One day, I saw 3 of them cornering him in the hallway. Taking his lunch. Pushing him against the wall. I was 15 and had a sharp tongue. I got in the middle of it. Called them every name in the book. Threatened to tell the principal. They left laughing. But they never bothered Paul again. We became friends after that. He was smart. Funny. Kind. He helped me with math. I helped him not get beaten up so much. We spent all of high school together. He had a crush on me. I knew it. Everyone knew it except me, who pretended not to see. Senior year at the prom. He asked me to come out to the school garden. He was nervous. Stammering. Sweating. He started to say something. But before he could finish, Richard showed up. Richard. The popular one. The handsome one. The guy with the cool car. Carmen. Come on. I'll give you a ride. I looked at Paul and said, "Sorry. Pauli. We'll talk later." There was no later. I started dating Richard. Paul went to med school in another state. We lost touch 40 years. 40 years without seeing that face. And now he was here in front of me looking at me with a mixture of shock and concern. "Carmen. Talk to me. Did you take something? Eat something?" I tried to answer. The words came out jumbled. Broken coffee. Richard. Coffee. Paul understood. I saw it in his eyes. He got it instantly. That bastard. He muttered and then yelling. "Somebody call 911 now. Tell them it's acute poisoning." He laid me on the ground on my side. Recovery position. I think it's called. He monitored my breathing. Kept me from passing out completely. "Carmen. Stay with me. Look at me." I tried. I tried with all the strength I had left. But the world was going dark. He wanted to kill me. I know. "Carmen. I get it. But you're not going to die. Not while I'm here." Sirens. The ambulance arriving. Paramedics' voices. Paul giving instructions with the authority of someone who's done this for decades. Suspected poisoning with an amnesic sedative. Probably a benzoazepine or scopolamine. Urgent gastric lavage. Activated charcoal. Full toxicology panel. Are you family? Sir. Paul looked at me, at the woman he had loved 40 years ago and had never forgotten. I'm a friend for 40 years. He held my hand as they put me on the stretcher. He didn't let go for a second. The last thing I saw before I blacked out was his face. The boy I had saved 40 years ago. Now saving me back. Paul saved me twice at that rest stop. Once as a doctor and once as the friend I never should have let go. I opened my eyes to a white ceiling. The smell of disinfectant. The beeping of machines. Fluorescent lights. A hospital. I was alive. For a moment. I didn't remember anything. Not the coffee. Not the bus station. Not Richard's whisper in my ear. For a moment. I just existed without a past. Without context. Without pain. And then it all came flooding back. Like a wave crashing on the shore. The memories hit me with full force. The bitter coffee. The wobbly legs. In an hour. You won't even remember your own name. I remembered. I remembered everything. I turned my head to the side and saw Paul. He was sitting in a chair next to my bed with dark circles under his eyes and a day's worth of stubble. He looked like he hadn't slept all night. Carmen. He leaned forward. Relieved. You're awake. Thank God you're awake. I tried to speak. But my throat was dry. Paul got a cup of water and helped me drink. The water went down slowly. Cool. Healing. What time is it? I asked. My voice still. It's 9:00 a.m. On Sunday. You've been asleep for almost 20 hours. 20 hours. A whole day of my life erased by the drug my husband had put in my coffee. Paul. What happened to me? He took a deep breath. Held my hand with both of his. Carmen. I have to tell you something. And it's not going to be easy to hear. I already know. Richard tried to kill me. Not exactly kill. Worse. Worse. What could be worse than killing? Paul explained. The drug Richard had used was a compound designed to cause permanent amnesia. It didn't kill the body. It killed the mind. If I had arrived at the hospital a few hours later, I would have woken up with no memory of anything. Not my name. My life. My daughter. I would have been an empty shell. A person without an identity. He wanted to erase you. Carmen. Not kill you. Erase you. I felt nauseous. Not from the drug. From the betrayal. But why? I don't understand why he would do that. I don't know. But we're going to find out. Paul showed me the bus ticket they'd found in my purse. It wasn't to Montauk like Richard had said. It was to Omaha, Nebraska. A nearly 2-day trip. And the name on the ticket wasn't Carmen Prorau. It was Maria Sanchez. He wanted you to disappear in the middle of the country without a memory. Without an identity. You would have become a Jane Doe. A person with no past. And he would have gotten everything. Gotten everything. The boutiques. The apartment. The car. Everything I had built over decades of hard work. 33 years. I whispered. 33 years of marriage. And he does this to me. The tears came. I couldn't hold them back. I cried like I hadn't cried since I was a child. Deep sobs that shook my whole body. Paul said nothing. Just held my hand and let me cry. When the tears finally stopped, I looked at him. What do I do now? Paul? First. We call the police. You have a friend who's a detective. Right. You mentioned it when you were semi-conscious. Sonia. Detective Sonia Miller. We were roommates in college. Then call her. Tell her everything. And then we plan. Plan what? Paul smiled. A sad but determined smile. Your revenge. I called Sonia from that hospital bed with Paul by my side. Sonia and I had gone to college together over 30 years ago. She'd gone into law enforcement. I'd gone into fashion. But we never lost touch. We had lunch once a month. Shared a bottle of wine at holiday parties. And I knew I could count on her for anything. Anything. Including arresting my husband. Carmen. My God. What happened? You disappear for a whole day. And now you're calling me from a hospital upstate. I told her everything. The coffee. The bus station. The whisper. The bus. Paul finding me at the rest stop. Sonia listened in silence. I knew that silence. It was her silence when she was processing information. Building a case in her head. Carmen. I've seen a lot of cowardly men in this job. She said when I finished. But your husband is a special kind of scum. Sonia. I need help. And you're going to get it. I'll take care of him. You just need to stay alive and stay hidden. No one can know you're here. No one can know you remember everything. The only exception will be Amanda. I'll need her for the legal side. And I trust her as much as I trust you. Understood. And Carmen. What? 30 years of friendship. You think I was going to abandon you now? I hung up the phone. Feeling for the first time since I'd woken up a flicker of hope. Paul hadn't left my side. He'd cancelled the neurology conference he was on his way to when he found me. Paul. You don't have to stay here. I'm better now. I know I don't have to. But I want to. He looked out the window of the room at the blue sky outside. You saved me once. Carmen. In high school. When those guys were about to beat me up. You appeared out of nowhere and stood up to them for me. I remembered. Of course. I remembered. I never forgot that. And I'm not leaving now. Not this time. I held his hand and let the silence speak for us. That night. Lying in that hospital bed. I made a promise to myself. When all of this was over. I would apologize to Amanda. I would tell her she had been right all along. I would be the mother she deserved. If I survived. Sonia worked fast. In 2 days. She had put together a complete dossier on my husband's secret life. And what she found was worse than I could have imagined. The wine import business had gone bankrupt 2 years ago. Richard had hidden it from me. Pretending to go to work every morning when in reality he was spending the day doing God knows what. But that wasn't all. Richard had debts. Massive debts. $1 million to a loan shark connected to organized crime. He had invested in some illegal import scheme that went wrong and now his life was being threatened. And to complete the picture, he had a mistress. Jessica. 32 years old. A personal trainer. Platinum blonde. Huge nails. Tight clothes. Sonia showed me the photos. The two of them at a motel. Holding hands at the mall. Having dinner at expensive restaurants. A 2-year affair. 2 years of lies. The texts between them are revealing. Sonia said. Her voice filled with disgust. She read some of them to me. Jessica asking when Richard was going to leave the old hag. Richard promising that everything would be resolved soon. Jessica demanding gifts. Trips. Luxuries that Richard paid for with the money I thought was going into his company. Did she know about the debts? She knew and she stayed with him anyway. Thinking that when you disappeared, she'd get everything. Disappeared? What a nice word for what he tried to do to me. Sonia nodded. She had also gotten a confession from the pharmacist who sold Richard the drug. $15,000 for a compound that was supposed to turn me into a walking vegetable. We have the security footage from the terminal. 2, she continued. Richard putting the powder in the coffee. Carrying you to the bus. Leaving without a look back. It's all on tape. I should have been crying. I should have been destroyed. But I had cried so much in the last 48 hours that I had no tears left. I only had anger. A cold, calculated anger that burned in my chest like a hot coal. So, now what? I asked. Sonia smiled. A predatory smile. Now we wait. Richard has filed a petition in court to get access to your bank accounts. Says you've disappeared and he needs the money to fund the search. The search? How ironic. The hearing is in 5 days and you're going to show up there alive with your memory and with all this evidence. The look on his face will be priceless. He thought it was the perfect crime. I said. He forgot your best friend is a detective. Sonia finished. We both laughed. A bitter, joyless laugh. But a laugh nonetheless. It was good to have someone on my side. Sonia left that night, promising to be back in 2 days with more information. Paul stayed with me as he had from the beginning. You should get some rest. I told him. You haven't slept properly in 3 days. I'll sleep when you're safe. I looked at him at the man. He had become kind, dedicated, loyal. Everything Richard had never been. We sat in silence. But it was a good silence. A silence full of unsaid things that would one day be said. The next morning, Sonia called with urgent news. Carmen, your husband called the hospital. My blood ran cold. Does he know I'm here? No. He was calling hospitals along the bus route, looking for a woman in her 50 seconds with no ID. The receptionist almost told him you were admitted. Almost. I got there seconds before. I've put you under police protection. No information about you can be released to anyone. I breathed a sigh of relief. But paranoia had set in. Sonia. What if he finds out? What if he comes here to finish the job? He won't. There are 2 officers at your door 24/7. You're safe. Carmen. I promise. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. There's one more thing. Sonia said. And her tone changed. Became more hesitant. What is it? It's about Greg. Greg. My son. 32 years old. Worked in his father's company. Always asking for money. What about Greg? Carmen. He knew about the mistress. For over a year. The world stopped. What? We found texts between him and Richard. Greg knew about the affair with Jessica. And he didn't tell you. And now after you disappeared, he's agreed to testify on his father's behalf in court. He's going to say your marriage was perfect. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My son. My own son. And Amanda? I asked. My voice breaking. Amanda is desperately looking for you. She's been to the precinct 3 times in the last 2 days. She knows something is wrong. Of course. She knew. Amanda always knew. I hung up the phone and stared at the ceiling. Paul was by my side. But he said nothing. What could he say? Richard had almost found me by seconds. But luck had changed sides. And my son. My own son. Knew everything and hadn't told me. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay staring at the ceiling, processing what Sonia had told me. My son knew. For over a year, Greg had known his father had a mistress. And he chose not to tell me. Why? I tried to remember my 2 children growing up. Tried to understand where I'd gone wrong. At what point things had gone so terribly wrong. Greg had always been his father's son. Ever since he was little. He preferred Richard. He wanted to go along on business trips. He was dazzled by the expensive gifts his father brought back. He repeated Richard's phrases as if they were gospel. I thought it was sweet. A boy who admired his father. What could be wrong with that? Everything was wrong. Richard probably took Greg to meetings that were actually trysts with his mistress. He gave him money to keep quiet. Not to ask questions. To be an accomplice. And Greg accepted. Accepted because it was easier. Because the money was good. Because he had never learned the difference between right and wrong. The blame was mine. 2. I was too busy building my business. Working too hard to support the family. While Richard pretended to have a company, I outsourced the raising of my son to the wrong man. But Amanda was different. Amanda was always different. Since she was little. She followed me everywhere. When I opened my first shop, a tiny clothing stall at a neighborhood flea market, Amanda was 8 and insisted on coming along. She'd sit on a stool behind the counter, doing her homework while I served customers, observing everything with those big, curious eyes. "Mom, why was that lady crying?" she asked once after a customer left, wiping away tears. "Because her husband did something very mean, honey. And she's sad." "What did he do?" "Grown-up stuff. You'll understand when you're older." "I don't want to understand. I want to help her." At 12, Amanda started helping me with inventory. She'd check the pieces, organize by size, note what was missing. She had a natural talent for numbers and an impressive memory. "Mom, we're missing 3 blue tops in size medium, and the supplier sent 2 fewer skirts than we ordered." "How do you know that?" "Honey, I counted." By 15, she was already waiting on customers. The women loved her. She had a gentle way of listening, of making people feel special. And she heard the stories. Stories of unhappy marriages, of betrayals, of women who had given everything for their families and received ingratitude in return. "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a family law attorney." "Why?" "Sweetie, because I want to help these women. I want to get justice for them." I hugged my daughter that day. So proud. I didn't know that one day I would be one of those women. At 16, Amanda came to tell me she'd seen her father with another woman. And I didn't believe her. I called her a liar. Told her she was making it up because she didn't like her father. Amanda never brought it up again. But her gaze changed. She distanced herself from Richard. Started avoiding him. Speaking only when necessary. And I, blind and cowardly, pretended not to notice. At 18, she went to college to study law. At 23, she passed the bar exam. On her second try. After a first failure that devastated her. I remember her phone call crying. Saying she was a failure. "Amanda, listen to me. You get up. You dust yourself off. And you try again. That's what we do. That's what I've always done." She got up. She dusted herself off. She tried again. And she passed. At 30, Amanda was a respected lawyer specializing in domestic violence cases and contentious divorces. She defended women like the customers in my stores. Women who had been betrayed, abandoned, humiliated. And she was good at it. We talked every day, had lunch every week. She was my best friend. My confidant. The only person who truly knew me. When I was sad. She could tell before I even opened my mouth. When I was happy. She celebrated with me. "Mom, you're my hero," she told me once during a Sunday lunch. "You built all this from scratch. Started selling clothes at a flea market. And now you have 3 boutiques. I want to be just like you when I grow up." "You're already grown up, honey. And you're much better than me." Impossible. Lying in that hospital bed thinking about my 2 children, I finally understood the difference between them. Greg had chosen money. Amanda had chosen me. And now, while I was here, hidden, hurt, betrayed, Greg was preparing to testify for his father. And Amanda was desperately looking for me. I had to talk to her. I had to tell her the truth. Sonia authorized it. Said Amanda was trustworthy. That she could help with the plan. And late that afternoon, my phone rang with her name on the screen. "Honey." I answered. My voice trembling. "Mom. Mom." Amanda was crying. Sobbing. I had never heard her cry like that. Sonia told me. "Mom. Thank God. I thought I'd lost you. I'm here. Honey. I'm alive. I knew something was wrong. I knew it. I felt it. Mom. When you didn't answer the phone. When you didn't text to say you'd arrived. I felt something was terribly wrong. I should have listened to you. Honey. 14 years ago when you saw him at the mall. Silence. Amanda cried harder. You remember that? I never forgot. Amanda. I just didn't want to believe it. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for not listening. For calling you a liar. For choosing him over you. Mom. Forgive me. Forgive me for not insisting more. Forgive you. You forgive me. Honey. You were right all along. And I was an idiot. You weren't an idiot. You trusted your husband. There's nothing wrong with that. There was everything wrong with it. Honey. And I almost paid for it with my life. Amanda wanted to come to the hospital right then. Get in her car. And drive to New Haven. Hug me. Protect me. Not yet. Honey. Sonia has a plan. A hearing in 5 days. I need to show up there alive with all the evidence. What hearing? I explained. Richard asking for access to my accounts. Claiming I had disappeared. Playing the part of the worried husband. I'll be there. Amanda said. Her voice shifting from tearful to determined. I'll be your lawyer at that hearing. Honey. You don't have to. Mom. Her voice cut mine off. Firm. No room for discussion. You taught me to be strong. You taught me to fight. You told me to get up. Dust myself off. And try again. Now it's my turn to do the same for you. Don't argue with me. I cried. But this time. They were different tears. Tears of gratitude. Of pride. Of love. What did I do to deserve a daughter like you? You raised me. That's what you did. Sonia arrived at the hospital 2 days before the hearing. She brought everything. The evidence. The videos. The message screenshots. The pharmacist's confession. A thick folder of documents that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that my husband had tried to destroy me. The plan is simple. She explained. Spreading the papers on the small table in the room. Richard filed for access to your accounts. Said you disappeared and he needs the money to fund the search. How ironic. He made me disappear and now he wants money to look for me. Exactly. The hearing is on Thursday at 2 p.m. At the courthouse in Manhattan. You're going to show up there alive. Lucid. Memory intact. And with all this evidence. The look on his face will be priceless. I said. It'll be more than priceless. It'll be historic. Paul was sitting on the other side of the room. Listening in silence. He hadn't left my side for a single moment during those days. He had become my anchor. My point of balance. My reason to believe there were still good men in the world. Sonia hesitated. Looked at Paul. Then at me. Carmen. There's something else about Greg. My stomach sank. What about him? She showed me screenshots of conversations between Richard and Greg. Messages exchanged over the past months. The past years. My son knew about the mistress for over a year. He knew. But that's not all. When you disappeared. Richard called Greg. Sonia said he asked him to testify for him in court to say your marriage was perfect. That you never showed signs of wanting to leave. And what did Greg say? Sonia showed me the message. I'm with you. Dad. I'll say the marriage was perfect. I read it. Reread it. I couldn't process it. There's more. Sonia said. We bugged Richard's phone. There's an audio recording of Greg. She pressed play. My son's voice filled the room. Dad. Did Mom suspect anything? And Richard's voice responding. Don't worry. She didn't suspect a thing. My son's voice. Cold. Calculating. Asking if I had found out anything before being poisoned. As if it were a logistical issue. as if I were a problem to be solved. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. It wasn't the drug. It wasn't the weakness. It was the betrayal. The betrayal of my own flesh and blood. When I came back to the room, Paul hugged me. Sonia waited in silence. I can't do it, I said. My voice broken. I can't face both of them. My husband and my son. How am I going to do this? Carmen. Sonia started. I just want to leave. Disappear. Start over somewhere else. Far from all of this. Paul and Sonia looked at each other, not knowing what to say. And then my phone rang. Amanda. I answered, my voice still from crying. Amanda. Mom. What's wrong? You sound different. I can hear it in your voice. I told her about Greg. About the messages. The audio recording. Silence on the other end of the line. And then my daughter's voice came back different. It was no longer the voice of a worried daughter. It was the voice of a warrior. Mom. Listen to me. Honey. I can't. You can. The strength in her voice made me pause. I spent 14 years knowing Dad was no good. 14 years being called a liar. Dramatic 14 years watching you defend him while I kept my mouth shut. I said nothing. What could I say? And you know why I never gave up on you? Because you never gave up on me when I failed the bar exam the first time. Remember what you told me? Get up. Dust yourself off. And try again. Exactly. And I got up and I tried and I passed because of you. Silence. So now it's my turn to tell you. Get up. Mom. Dust yourself off and go to that courthouse and destroy those two. I started to cry again. But they were different tears. You built an empire selling clothes at a flea market. You raised 2 kids practically on your own while Dad pretended to work. You survived a poisoning that should have erased you from existence. You think you can't face a coward and a spoiled brat? I laughed through my tears. A wet laugh. But a laugh nonetheless. And another thing. If you don't go, I will. I'll go there alone and destroy them both with my own 2 hands. But I'd rather you be there to see it because you deserve to see the look on their faces when they realize they've lost. I looked at Paul and Sonia who were watching in silence. You're just like me. You know that. I said to Amanda. I know. That's why you're going to get out of that bed and go with me. I took a deep breath. Wiped my tears. Hardened my voice. Okay, honey. I'll go. On the other end of the line, I could almost hear my daughter's smile. That's my mom. 5 days. 5 days to face the man who tried to kill me and the son who betrayed me. But I wasn't alone anymore. I had Paul. I had Sonia. And I had Amanda. And that was all I needed. The 5 days before the hearing were the longest of my life. I was slowly recovering. The drug had left my system. But the emotional effects were still there. I'd wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, dreaming of Richard whispering in my ear. Sometimes I'd have flashbacks during the day. The bitter taste of the coffee. The weak legs. The feeling of losing control of my own body. Paul never left my side. He slept in an armchair in the room. Woke up before I did. Brought coffee from the hospital cafeteria. And always took the first sip to show me it was safe. You don't have to do that. I said the 3rd time he did it. I know. But I want you to feel safe. We talked for hours about the past. The present. The future. I learned things about Paul I'd never imagined. He'd been married for 22 years to a woman named Helena, an oncologist who died of cancer 3 years ago. Life is ironic, he said. She spent her entire career treating cancer in others. And she died of cancer. You loved her very much. She was my partner. My best friend. My other half. When she died, I thought I wouldn't be able to go on. But you did. We always go on. Carmen. It's what we do. I told him about my years of marriage to Richard. About the nights I slept alone while he worked late. About the times I had suspicions but chose to ignore them. You were never happy with him. Were you? Paul asked. I thought for a moment. Had I been happy? I thought I was. But I think I was just used to it. Used to the routine. The company. The idea of having a family. Real happiness. I'm not sure I ever knew it. Yes. You did. Paul said. You told me about Amanda. About how close you are. How she's your best friend. That's happiness. Carmen. That's real love. He was right. Amanda was my happiness. She always had been. On the fourth night, as I was trying to sleep, Paul pulled his armchair closer to my bed. Carmen. Can I tell you something? Of course. Do you remember that night? The senior prom in the school garden? I closed my eyes and remembered. It was June of 1983. The last big party before we all went off to college. The gym was decorated with blue and white balloons. Our school colors. The music was loud. People were dancing. Teenagers savoring the last few weeks before becoming adults. I was by the punch bowl when Paul appeared at my side. He looked different that night. He'd worn a dress shirt, combed his hair, even taken off his glasses. Carmen. Can I talk to you for a second in private? I looked around. My friends were on the dance floor. No one would miss me. Sure. Polly. What's up? He led me out to the school garden. It was a warm summer night. A full moon lighting up everything. The smell of honeysuckle in the air. Crickets chirping. The music from the gym muffled by the distance. We stopped under a tree. Paul was trembling. Carmen. I need to tell you something. What is it? Are you okay? I am. I mean. No. I'm not. I mean. He took a deep breath. I rehearsed this 1,000 times in my head. But now that you're standing here in front of me, I've forgotten everything. I laughed. Calm down. Polly. It's me. You can talk. He looked me in the eyes. And I saw something there I'd never seen before. Or maybe I had seen it and just pretended not to. Carmen. We've been friends for 3 years. And in those 3 years, you've been the most important person in my life. You defended me when no one else would. You made me laugh when all I wanted to do was cry. You made me believe I could be somebody. My heart started to beat faster. And I don't know how to say this. But he took a step toward me. I could feel his warmth. His nervousness. His love. Carmen. A car horn cut through the night. We both turned. A red Camaro had pulled up to the school entrance. And leaning against it, smiling like he owned the world, was Richard. Carmen. Come on. I'll give you a ride. Richard. The popular one. The handsome one. The captain of the football team. The guy all the girls wanted and who for some reason had started noticing me that month. I looked at Paul. At my friend. At the boy who was about to tell me something important. Sorry. Pauli. We'll talk later. And I left without looking back. Without seeing his face fall. Without knowing that later would never come. I opened my eyes. I was back in the hospital room 40 years later. I was going to ask you to be my girlfriend that night. Paul said. His voice. I was going to tell you I'd loved you since I was 14. That you were the bravest, most beautiful person I knew. That I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. Paul. And then Richard showed up with that car. With that smile. And you left. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know. You were young and he was him. Silence. I stayed in that garden for an hour after you left, he continued. Staring at the moon. Trying to figure out where I went wrong. And then I decided I was going to be someone. I was going to go to med school. Become a respected professional. Prove that I was good enough. You didn't have to prove anything. I know that now. But back then, I thought you chose him because he was better than me. Better looking. Richer. More popular. And I spent 40 years trying to make up for it. Silence. Do you regret it? I asked. Not pushing harder that night. Every single day. Every single day of my life. And now. Paul smiled. A sad smile. But full of hope. Now I have a second chance. And I'm not going to waste it. The next day, Amanda arrived. I heard her footsteps in the hallway before I saw her. Quick. Determined steps. Like someone in a hurry to get somewhere. And then the door opened. And there she was. My daughter. My Amanda. She was wearing a black pantsuit. Her hair in a sleek bun. A lawyer's briefcase in her hand. She looked older than I remembered. More serious. Stronger. But when she saw me, that whole professional facade crumbled. Mom. She ran to my bed and hugged me. A tight, desperate hug. The hug of someone who thought they were going to lose the most important person in their life. Mom. Thank God. Thank God you're okay. I hugged her back with all the strength I had. I'm here. Honey. I'm here. We stayed like that for a long time. Hugging. Crying. Without needing to say a word. Mother and daughter reunited after the worst nightmare I had ever lived. When we finally separated, Amanda wiped her tears and became the lawyer again. Tell me everything. I want to know every detail of what happened. Every piece of evidence Sonia has. Every step of the plan. I told her, and as I spoke, Amanda took notes. Asked questions. Built the strategy in her head. She was brilliant. She had always been. And seeing her in action filled me with pride. The strategy is simple. She said when I finished. We let him talk first. Let him put on his little show of the worried husband. The desperate man looking for his wife. And then we walk in. And when we walk in, Amanda smiled. A smile I knew well. Her smile when she was about to destroy someone in court. You walk in behind me. I'll go first as your attorney. When the judge asks who is representing the victim, I'll introduce myself and then you appear. And Richard. Richard will have a heart attack. Not literally. Unfortunately. But the look on his face will be worth all this suffering. And Greg. Amanda's smile vanished. Her face hardened. Greg made his choice. He chose the wrong side and he's going to pay for it. I felt a pang in my chest. He was my son after all. Even after everything he had done, he was still my son. Amanda. I don't know if I can face him. It's one thing to face Richard. But Greg. Amanda took my hand. Mom. Listen. Greg knew. He knew for over a year that Dad was having an affair. And not only did he not tell you, he agreed to testify for him. To lie to a judge. To betray you. I know. But there's no but. Mom. He chose money. He chose the allowance Dad gave him. The apartment Dad paid for. The Playboy lifestyle Dad funded. He sold you out for comfort. I stayed silent. And while he was doing that, while he was choosing Dad over you, you know what I was doing? What? I was at the police station 3 times in 2 days begging Sonia to let me help with the investigation. Spending sleepless nights trying to figure out what happened to you. Crying in the office bathroom because I thought I'd lost my mother. Amanda's eyes were full of tears. But her voice remained firm. I was always on your side. Mom. Always. Since I was 16. When I tried to tell you about Dad. And you didn't believe me. Even so. I never gave up. Never abandoned you. Because that's what real family does. I hugged her again. My daughter. My warrior. I know. Honey. I know. And I'm so sorry. So sorry for not believing you. For choosing him so many times. You deserved a better mother. I had the best mother in the world. Amanda said. You were just blind. But now you can see. And we're going to get justice together. That evening, Amanda met Paul. I introduced them with a nervousness I hadn't felt in years. Amanda was my daughter. My best friend. The person whose opinion mattered most to me. And Paul was Paul. The man who was making me believe in second chances. Amanda looked at him for a long moment. Analyzing. Assessing. Looking for signs of danger. And then she smiled. So, you're the one who saved my mother. I was just in the right place at the right time. It was more than that. Sonia told me what you did. Cancelled your conference. Stayed at the hospital all these days. Took care of her as if she were. She paused. As if she were important. She is important. Paul said. She always was. Amanda looked at me. I saw in her eyes the same thing she was seeing in Paul's. Mom. I like him. She said. Direct as always. He looks at you the right way. The right way? The way Dad never did. I didn't know what to say. So I said nothing. I just smiled. That night, as I was trying to sleep, Amanda came into my room. Mom. You awake? I am. Honey. What's wrong? She sat on the edge of my bed like she used to when she was a little girl and had nightmares. I want to tell you something about Greg. I sat up worried. What? About 6 months ago. I ran into him at a restaurant. We don't talk much. You know. But he was alone. So I decided to sit with him. And Amanda took a deep breath as if reliving the scene. We talked about life. About work. About family. And at some point I noticed he was acting strange. He kept looking at his plate. Pushing his food around without eating. It looked like something was weighing on him. What did he say? He asked how you were. Asked if we still had our weekly lunches. If you seemed happy. Strange questions for someone who never seemed to care about that. My heart sped up. And then he said something I never forgot. He said, Amanda. Sometimes I look at Mom and I feel like we should have done more. Protected her more. Said more. Said more about what? That's exactly what I asked. And he went silent for a long time. Fidgeting with his glass. Avoiding my gaze. I could see he was fighting an internal battle. That there was something on the tip of his tongue that he wanted to say but couldn't. Amanda looked at me. So I pushed him. I asked him directly. Greg. What do you know that I don't? What are you hiding? And he almost said it. Mom. I saw it in his eyes. He opened his mouth and took a deep breath and unclosed it. He closed his mouth. Asked for the check. And said he had to go. That he had a commitment. But I saw it. Mom. I saw he was going to tell me about Dad. About the affair. About everything. Why didn't he? Amanda sighed. Because right at that moment, his phone rang. It was Dad. And when he saw the name on the screen, something in his face changed. Fear. Maybe. Or shame, he answered. Said. I'm on my way. And left without a proper goodbye. Silence. He's a coward. Mom. Always has been. He prefers comfort to truth. He prefers money to family. He prefers the easy way out to courage. That day in the restaurant. He had a chance to do the right thing and he chose not to. Do you think he regrets it? I think he'll regret it tomorrow when he sees you walk into that courthouse. He'll regret it for the rest of his life. Silence. Mom. I know it's hard. He's your son. You carried him. You nursed him. You raised him. But he made a choice. And now he has to live with the consequences of that choice. I know. Honey. I know. Amanda hugged me. You can cry. Mom. I've got you. That's what daughters are for. And I cried. I cried for the 33 lost years. For the husband who betrayed me. For the son who abandoned me. I cried for the moment in the restaurant when Greg could have saved me and chose not to. I cried for the woman I was before I got on that bus and for the woman I would have to become after. Amanda held my hand all night. And the next morning, I was ready. Ready to face my past. Ready to reclaim my future. Ready to destroy the men who tried to destroy me. The Manhattan family court was bustling that Thursday. Lawyers in suits hurried down the hallways. Families waited for hearings. Clerks carried stacks of files. The sound of heels on marble floors of voices echoing off the high walls of lives being decided behind closed doors. I was in a car parked outside with Amanda and Paul. Sonia had gone ahead to prepare the ground. The hearing was scheduled for 2:00 p.m. It was 1:45. Mom, how are you feeling? I looked at Amanda. My daughter looked impeccable. Black pants suit. Hair in a bun. Subtle makeup. She looked like a lawyer from a movie. She looked like someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Nervous. I admitted, very nervous. That's normal. But you don't have to be afraid. I'll be by your side the whole time. Paul took my hand. Carmen. You've survived the worst. You woke up in that hospital when you should have forgotten everything. You are here. Alive. Lucid. Ready to fight. That's already a victory. I took a deep breath. They were right. I had survived. And now I was going to get justice. Let's go, I said. We entered the courthouse through a side door. Sonia had arranged a discreet entrance so Richard wouldn't see me ahead of time. We went up 2 flights of stairs through an empty hallway and stopped in front of a door with the number 7 on it. This is it, said Sonia, who was waiting for us. The hearing has already started. Richard's in there putting on his little show. Is Greg there too? I asked. Sitting right next to his father. Ready to testify. My stomach clenched. But I swallowed my fear. Jessica? Sonia hesitated. I don't know. She wasn't on the witness list. All right. Let's do this. Amanda adjusted her suit jacket, picked up her briefcase, and positioned herself in front of me. Mom, when I go in, count to 10 and then follow me. Don't look at Richard. Don't look at Greg. Just look at me. I'll guide you. Understood. And Mom? What? Amanda smiled. A fierce smile. Enjoy every second. She opened the door and walked in. I counted to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I walked in. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined. A large table in the center where the judge sat. On the left, Richard and his lawyer. On the right, an empty chair. The victim's chair. Greg was sitting behind his father in a row of chairs for witnesses. When I entered, the world stopped. Richard was in the middle of a sentence. He was saying something about how desperate he was to find his wife. About how he needed the money to continue the search. His voice was convincing. Full of feigned emotion. And then he saw me. The color drained from his face. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened and closed without making a sound. He looked like a fish out of water, gasping for air. Carmen. His voice came out as a strangled whisper. I didn't answer. I didn't look at him. I looked at Amanda just like she'd told me to. Amanda approached the judge's table with the confidence of someone who had done this for years. Your Honor. My name is Amanda Prorow. I am an attorney. New York State Bar Number 287451. And I represent the victim in this matter. The judge. A man in his 60s with a face that looked like it had seen everything. Looked at me with curiosity. Victim? What victim? We are here to address a petition for access to the bank accounts of a missing person. With all due respect. Your Honor. The person is not missing. She is right here in front of you. Carmen Prorow. My mother and my client. The judge looked from Amanda to me. From me to Richard. Mr. Prorow. You stated that your wife had disappeared. Richard couldn't speak. He was in shock. His lawyer tried to intervene. Your Honor. Clearly there has been a misunderstanding. There has been no misunderstanding. Amanda interrupted. There has been attempted murder, poisoning, identity fraud, and attempted embezzlement of assets. And I have proof of all of it. The room erupted in murmurs. The judge banged his gavel. Silence. Miss Prorow. Those are very serious accusations. I know. Your Honor. Which is why I brought the evidence. Amanda opened her briefcase and began to distribute documents. Copies of the texts between Richard and Jessica. Screenshots of conversations with Greg. The pharmacist's confession. Medical reports from the hospital in New Haven. Videos from the Port Authority security cameras. This is the defendant purchasing the substance he used to poison my mother, she said, holding up a document. This is the forged prescription he used. This is the toxicology report showing the levels of the drug in her blood. And this. She paused dramatically. This is the video of the defendant putting the drug in my mother's coffee at the Port Authority bus terminal on March 12th of this year. Amanda plugged a flash drive into the courtroom's computer. The screen lit up and there was Richard in grainy black and white looking from side to side. Putting a white powder into a coffee cup. Handing it to me with a smile. You can clearly see the defendant administering the substance. Amanda continued. And here. She fast-forwarded the video. The defendant carrying the victim who is already under the effect of the drug onto the bus. Note that she can barely walk. And here another fast-forward. The defendant leaving the bus without looking back while the victim is left alone. Drugged with a fake ticket in the name of Maria Sanchez. Destination Omaha. Absolute silence in the room. The judge looked at Richard with an expression I will never forget. Disgust. Revulsion contained fury. Mr. Prorow. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Richard finally found his voice. But it wasn't the confident voice from before. It was the voice of a desperate man. Your Honor. This is a setup. My wife is confused. She suffered a trauma. She doesn't know what she's saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I spoke. It was the first time I had opened my mouth since I entered the room. Everyone turned to look at me. I know you put a drug in my coffee. I know you whispered in my ear that in an hour I wouldn't even remember my own name. I know you bought a ticket to Omaha in the name of Maria Sanchez to send me to the middle of the country without a memory. Without an identity. Without a life. My voice was firm. Firmer than I expected. I know you have a mistress named Jessica. That you owe almost $1 million to a loan shark. And that you planned all of this to get my money. The money I built. The stores I built. The assets I accumulated while you were pretending to have a company. Richard was white as a sheet. Trembling. Sweating. Carmen. My love. I can explain. Don't call me my love. My voice cut like a knife. You lost that right when you tried to erase me from existence. Amanda came to my side. Placed a hand on my shoulder. Your Honor. In addition to the physical evidence, we also have testimonial evidence. The pharmacist who sold the drug has already given a statement to the police. And we also have. She looked back at the witness row. The testimony of the defendant's son, Greg Prorow, who was aware of the extramarital affair for over a year and agreed to commit perjury on his father's behalf. Greg, who had been sitting in silence until that moment, went pale. I didn't. We have the messages. Greg. Amanda said, looking directly at him. We have the audio. Dad. Did Mom suspect anything? Does that ring a bell? Greg opened his mouth to answer. But no sound came out. Amanda turned back to the judge. Your Honor. I request the defendant, Richard Prorow, be held in custody pending trial for attempted murder and that an investigation be opened into Greg Prorow for conspiracy to commit perjury and obstruction of justice. The judge nodded. Granted. Bailiff. Please. And then the courtroom door burst open. A woman ran in. Platinum blonde. Huge nails. Tight clothes. Jessica. Richard. Richard. What's going on? She ran to him without realizing what was happening in the room. Without realizing she had just walked into the middle of a hearing. Without realizing I was there. And then she saw me. Her face went through several expressions in less than a second. Confusion. Recognition. Terror. You're alive. Surprise. I said. Jessica stumbled back. Tripping on her own heels. I didn't know anything. He told me you were going to separate. He promised everything would be okay. He promised a lot of things. Didn't he? Amanda said. Promised he'd leave my mother. Promised he'd get rich. Promised you'd live happily ever after. And you believed it all. Jessica looked at Richard. Desperate. Richard. Say something. Say this isn't true. Richard didn't answer. He was staring at the floor. Defeated. Richard. Shut up. Jessica. It was the first time he yelled. The mask had finally come off. Jessica staggered as if she'd been slapped. You promised we'd be together. You said she would disappear and we could be happy. I told you to shut up. But Jessica was in a panic. The words poured out of her. Unfiltered. You said the drug would make her forget everything. You said she'd end up as a Jane Doe somewhere and nobody would ever know. You said the money would be ours. A deadly silence fell over the room. Jessica had just confessed in front of a judge that she knew everything. Sonia, who had been standing at the back of the room, approached her. Jessica Almeida. You are being detained as an accomplice to attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Jessica started screaming. Crying. Struggling. I didn't do anything. It was all him. I just wanted to be with him. As the bailiffs dragged her from the room, she kept screaming. Mascara running down her face. Hair a mess. The whole femme fatale facade crumbling into hysterics. I watched her being led away and then turned back to Richard. So that's the woman you tried to kill me for. The woman you threw away 33 years of marriage for. I took a step toward him. She's not even that pretty. Someone in the room laughed. A muffled, nervous laugh. Richard turned red and then it happened. Richard fell to his knees on the courtroom floor in front of the judge. In front of the lawyers. In front of everyone. He collapsed like an empty sack. His legs giving out from under him. Karaman. His voice came out strangled. Desperate. Karaman. Please forgive me. I messed up. I know I messed up. But I love you. I've always loved you. I looked at him, at the man who had been my husband for 33 years. The man who had put poison in my coffee and sent me to the other side of the country to die without a memory. And now here he was on his knees crying. Begging. Please. Carmen. Tell the judge you forgive me. Tell him it was a misunderstanding. We can start over. My love. We can get up. My voice was as cold as ice. Carmen. Please get up. He flinched. Still on his knees. Tears streaming down his face. You want me to feel sorry for you? I asked. You who planned to erase me from existence. You who was going to take everything I built while I wandered without a memory through the middle of the country. You want pity. Silence. I spent 33 years of my life with you. 33 years working. Building. Supporting this family while you pretended to have a company and you repaid me by trying to kill me. I took a step back. Get off the floor. Richard. Get up and look at me. He staggered to his feet. his eyes swollen, his face wet, his whole confident man persona destroyed. Now you're going to jail. And I'm leaving. And I never ever want to see your face again. I turned my back on him. Carmen. Carmen. He screamed behind me. But I didn't look. I didn't turn. I kept looking forward as Sonia approached him with the handcuffs. Richard Prorau. You are under arrest for attempted murder. I heard the click of the cuffs. I heard him being dragged away. Still screaming my name. But I didn't look. I didn't give him the satisfaction. Sonia stopped by my side before leading him out. I will personally make sure he rots in jail. Carmen. I know you will. When the door closed behind Richard, I turned to Greg. My son was sitting in the same chair. Paralyzed. He hadn't moved during the scene with Jessica during his father's arrest. He was in shock. Amanda stood next to me. Greg, she said. Her voice icy. Do you have anything to say? He looked at me into the eyes of the mother he had betrayed. Mom. I didn't know he was going to do that. I swear I didn't know. You knew about the mistress. I said. For over a year. I thought it wasn't my business. I thought you two would work it out. And when I disappeared. When your father said I was gone. You didn't suspect anything? Greg fell silent. You agreed to lie to the judge. Amanda continued. You were going to say our parents' marriage was perfect. You were going to help Dad steal our mother's money. I wasn't. You chose the wrong side. Greg. Amanda's voice was sharp as a razor. You chose money over our mother. Congratulations. I hope it was worth it. Greg started to cry. Mom. Forgive me. Please. I messed up. I know I messed up. I looked at my son. At the man I had raised. Nursed. Protected. At the man who had chosen his criminal father over his innocent mother. I don't know if I can forgive you. Greg. Not now. Maybe never. Mom. Go home. We'll talk later if I can. Greg got up. Stumbling. Looked at me one last time with tear-filled eyes. And left the room. When the door closed, I finally allowed myself to breathe. Amanda hugged me. You were incredible. Mom. Incredible. I couldn't have done it without you. Honey. Yes. You could have. You can do anything. Paul approached. He had stayed at the back of the room during the entire hearing. Watching in silence. Carmen. He said simply. I looked at him, at the man who had saved me at a rest stop. At the man who had stayed by my side during the worst days of my life. At the man who had loved me for 40 years and had never given up. It's over. I said. Finally. It's over. No. Paul said with a gentle smile. It's not over. It's just beginning. The next year and a half was about rebuilding. Richard was sentenced to 18 years in prison for attempted murder, poisoning, and fraud. The judge cited the aggravating circumstances, the premeditation, the cruelty of the method, the attempt to steal the victim's assets, and handed down an exemplary sentence. Jessica got 4 years as an accomplice. At her trial, she tried to play the victim, said Richard had manipulated her, that she didn't know the whole plan. But the texts were there. The evidence was there. And the jury had no mercy. I heard later that her life fell apart. She lost all her personal training clients. The gym where she worked fired her. Her Instagram followers vanished. One of my employees told me she saw her the other day working as a cashier at a supermarket in the Bronx. Hair tied back. Blue uniform. No makeup. Unrecognizable. Miss Carmen. You won't believe who I saw scanning groceries yesterday. I believed her. And I felt no pity. Greg was not incarcerated. The DA's office determined he had no direct involvement in the crime. Only prior knowledge of the affair. But his reputation was destroyed. The story was in all the papers. Son knew of father's plan to poison mother, said nothing. He lost his job, his friends, his girlfriend. I should have felt satisfaction. Justice had been served. But what I felt was a huge emptiness. I moved back to the city 2 weeks after the trial. I took back the reins of my boutiques, which had been managed by my store managers in my absence. They'd done an impeccable job. Sales were even up. But I needed to come back. I needed normally. Paul returned to his practice upstate. We talked on the phone every day. Saw each other on weekends. But he had his life and I had mine. We were building something slowly, carefully, without rushing. I waited 40 years. He said once. I can wait a little longer. Amanda was always nearby. We had lunch every week. Just like before. But it was different now. There were no secrets between us. Now I knew she had always been right. And she knew I had finally seen the truth. Mom, are you happy? She asked me at one of those lunches. I'm trying. Honey. One day at a time. Paul helps. I smiled. He helps a lot. Amanda smiled back. Good. You deserve someone who treats you right. And then almost 2 years after the trial, Greg showed up. I was at the store checking a winter shipment when one of my employees came to get me. Miss Carmen. There's a man here to see you. Says he's your son. My heart pounded. I hadn't spoken to Greg since the day in court. I hadn't answered his calls. Hadn't replied to his texts. I wasn't ready. But he was here and I had to face this. I went to the front of the store. Greg was standing on the sidewalk outside. He looked different. Thinner. More tired. Unshaven. Wearing simple clothes. Nothing like the playboy I knew. Mom, he said when he saw me. Greg. We stood in silence for a moment. The sounds of the city around us. Cars passing. People talking. Normal life continuing while we stared at each other. Can I come in? He asked. What do you want to talk? Just talk. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to send him away. Part of me wanted to scream at him. To say everything I had held inside for all this time. But another part. The mother part. The part that never dies. Wanted to hear what he had to say. 5 minutes. I said. We went to my office in the back. I sat behind my desk. He remained standing nervously. Mom. I didn't come here to ask for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. Then why did you come? Because I want you to know that I get it. I get what I did. I get how badly I messed up. I said nothing. Just waited. I've spent all this time thinking about how I got to this point. How I became the kind of person who knows his father is having an affair and doesn't tell his mother. Who agrees to lie to a judge who chooses money over family. He took a deep breath and I realized. Mom. I realized I became a copy of Dad. I learned from him how to lie. How to manipulate. How to put my own interests above everything else. And I'm disgusted with myself. Greg. Let me finish. Please. I nodded. I didn't come to ask you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I came to say that I want to change. I want to be different. I want to deserve to be your son again one day if you'll let me. Silence. And how do you plan to do that? I asked. I don't know. But I was thinking. Do you need any help at the store? Anything. Carrying boxes. Cleaning the stockroom. Sweeping the floor. I don't want money. I don't want recognition. I just want to be around to prove that I can be different. I looked at my son. At the man who had betrayed me. Who had chosen his criminal father. Who had nearly helped to destroy me. And I saw something in his eyes that wasn't there before. Shame. Real shame. The stockroom needs organizing. I said after a long silence. There are boxes that haven't been opened in months. They need to be catalogued. Separated by size. Organized on the shelves. I'll do it. I'm not paying you for the first few weeks. You show up. You work. And you go home. No conversation. No drama. If you're still showing up after a month, we'll talk again. Okay. And Greg, what? If you miss a single day, it's over. For good. I won't miss a day. Mom. I promise. He started the next day. For the first few weeks, I barely spoke to him. He'd arrive at 8:00 a.m., go straight to the stockroom, and work all day carrying boxes, organizing shelves, doing the manual labor no one wanted to do. At the end of the day, he'd leave without a word of complaint. The third week, I walked past the stockroom and saw him teaching a new employee how to organize the merchandise. It's easier to find things this way, he was saying. My mom created this system years ago. It's brilliant. My mom. Not Carmen. My mom. The second month, I had him help out on the sales floor. He learned quickly. Discovered he had a knack for it. He knew how to listen to the customers to understand what they wanted. The third month, I called him into my office. Greg, you seem different. I want to be different. Mom, I need to be. He looked at me. His eyes filled with that same shame. You're the strongest person I know. You built all of this from nothing. And I threw it away for money. For cowardice. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to fix it. Silence. Come for dinner tomorrow night. I said. Amanda will be there. Greg's eyes widened. Mom. Are you sure? No. But I'm trying. Amanda hates me. She has every right to. I know. But she's your sister and family tries even when it's hard. Greg started to cry silently. No sobs. Just tears streaming down his face. Thank you. Mom. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This doesn't mean everything is okay. It means I'm trying. That's different. I understand. Good. Now. Get back to work. Those boxes aren't going to organize themselves. He laughed through his tears. A wet, broken laugh. But a laugh nonetheless. Yes. I watched him leave the office. My son. The son who had betrayed me. The son who was trying to change. I didn't know if I could ever fully forgive him. I didn't know if we could ever go back to what we were before. If we had ever really been anything real to begin with. But I was trying. And so was he. And sometimes trying is all you can do. The dinner was on a Friday. I was nervous all day. I cooked Amanda's favorite dish. Eggplant lasagna. And opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. I set the table carefully. Put flowers in the center. Lit candles. It felt like a new beginning. And it was. Amanda arrived first. She looked beautiful as always. But I could see the tension in her face. She knew Greg would be there. And she had not forgiven. Mom. Are you sure about this? No. But I have to try. He doesn't deserve it. Maybe not. But I need to know if he can change. And you need to. Too. Amanda didn't reply. Just sat on the couch. Her arms crossed. Her expression closed. Paul arrived soon after. He had driven down from his home upstate just for this dinner. Just to be by my side. When he walked in, Amanda got up and hugged him. Good evening. Paul. Thank you for being here. Wouldn't miss it for the world. And then the doorbell rang. Greg. I went to open the door. He was standing in the hallway holding a bottle of wine and a bouquet of flowers. He looked like a teenager on a first date. Nervous. Awkward. Trying to impress. Mom. Come in. Greg. He entered. Looked around the apartment. The apartment where he grew up. Where he'd spent his childhood and adolescence. And then he saw Amanda. They stared at each other for a long moment. brother and sister. The betrayer and the loyalist. The one who chose the father and the one who chose the mother. Amanda. Greg said. Greg. Her voice was glacial. No emotion. No forgiveness. I know you hate me. And you're right. Too. I was a coward. A traitor. A stop. Amanda cut him off. I don't want to hear your excuses. Not now. Maybe never. Greg closed his mouth. I am here because Mom asked me to be because she wants to try. But that does not mean I forgive you. It does not mean I have forgotten. It just means I am willing to be in the same room as you for her sake. Understood. Understood. Good. Now let's eat. The dinner was awkward. Tense. Silent at times. Forcibly lighted others. Paul did his best to keep the conversation flowing. Talking about work. The news. Anything that wasn't the elephant in the room. Greg barely spoke. He ate slowly. Answered when asked a question. But never initiated a conversation. He knew he wasn't welcome. He knew he was there on tolerance. Not acceptance. Amanda ignored him. She talked to me. She talked to Paul. But she never looked at her brother. It was as if he didn't exist. And then at dessert. It happened. I had made a FLA. Another family recipe. Another decades-old tradition. I put the dishes on the table and sat down. Before we eat. I said. I want to make a toast. Everyone looked at me. A little over 2 years ago. I was on a bus to nowhere. Drugged by the man I thought loved me. I was supposed to wake up with no memory. No identity. No life. But I woke up and I'm here. My voice trembled. But I continued. I lost a lot in these years. I lost 33 years of a marriage that I found out was a lie. I lost the image I had of my son. I lost my innocence. My naivety. The belief that the people we love will never hurt us. Tears started to stream down my face. But I gained other things. I gained the certainty that my daughter is the most loyal, most courageous person I know. I looked at Amanda. She was crying. 2. I gained a second chance with a man who has loved me for 40 years and never gave up on me. I looked at Paul. He smiled. His eyes shining. And I gained the hope that people can change. That mistakes don't have to be final. That family, even when it's broken, can try to rebuild itself. I looked at Greg. He was crying silently. His eyes fixed on his plate. So, this is my toast to family. The family we choose. Not just the family we're born into. The family that stands by us even when we don't deserve it. The family that tries even when trying seems impossible. I raised my glass to family. Amanda raised her glass to Mom. The strongest woman I know. The woman who taught me how to fight. How to never give up. How to get up and dust myself off. I am proud to be your daughter every day. Every hour. Every moment. She looked at me with all the love in the world in her eyes. You are my hero. Mom. Always have been. Always will be. Paul raised his glass to Carmen. The woman I've loved my whole life and never had the courage to tell. The woman who saved a shy kid 40 years ago and changed his life forever. The woman I will love until the last day of my existence. He took my hand. I waited 40 years for you. Carmen. And it was worth every second. Greg hesitated. Looked at the glass in his hand at the red liquid gleaming in the candle light. And then he stood up. I don't deserve to make a toast. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve the mother I have. The sister I have. The family I almost destroyed. His voice was broken. Tears flowing freely. But I want to say one thing. Something I should have said a long time ago. He looked at me. Mom. I am so sorry. I'm sorry for every time I chose Dad over you. For every time I ignored the signs. Pretended not to see. Preferred comfort to the truth. I am sorry for being a coward. He looked at Amanda. Amanda, you were always better than me. Always. You saw the truth while I chose the lie. You stood by Mom while I stood by the money. You are the daughter Mom deserves. I am. I was the son she had the bad luck to raise. Amanda said nothing. But I saw something shift in her eyes. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was an opening. A possibility. I'm not going to ask you to forgive me. Greg continued. I don't deserve it. But I will promise you one thing. I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the son Mom deserves. The brother Amanda deserves. The person I should have been from the start. He raised his glass. His hands shaking. To my mother. The strongest woman in the world. The woman I betrayed and who is still giving me a second chance. I promise I will not waste it. Silence. Amanda said nothing. Didn't raise her glass. Didn't look at him. Greg stood there alone. His glass raised with no one to clink it against. After a moment that felt like an eternity, he lowered his glass and sat down in silence. Defeated. Only the three of us toasted me. Amanda. And Paul. Greg just stared at his plate. The dinner ended in silence. No one touched the FLA. Amanda left first. She hugged me at the door tight for a long time. I love you. Mom. I love you. Too. Honey. More than anything about Greg. What? She took a deep breath. I haven't forgiven him. And I don't know if I ever will. He can work at the store. He can try to change. He can do whatever he wants. But to me, he died in that courtroom the day he chose Dad over you. Amanda, I know you want us to be a family again. But some things can't go back. Mom. Some things break and they don't glue back together. She kissed my forehead. You're too good. I'm not. And she left. Greg left soon after. At the door, he stopped. Mom. Thank you for dinner. For the chance. I looked at my son. At the man who had betrayed me. The man who was trying to change. Greg. I'm going to be honest with you. He waited. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I ever will. You can keep working at the store. You can keep trying. But don't expect things to go back to how they were because they won't. His eyes filled with tears again. I understand. Mom. I hope you really do because Amanda is not going to change her mind. And I'm trying. But trying isn't the same as succeeding. I know. So go home. Greg. I'll see you at the store on Monday. He glanced back into the apartment at Paul, who was in the living room. Take care of her, he said. She deserves someone who does. And he left. No hug. No forgiveness. No redemption. I closed the door and turned to Paul. We were alone. Finally. Are you okay? He asked. I am. For the first time in a long time. I am truly okay. He came closer to me. Took my hands. Carmen. I need to ask you something. What? I know you've been through so much. I know you need time. But I also know that I don't want to spend another day of my life away from you. My heart sped up. What are you saying? Paul. I'm saying I love you. That I have loved you my entire life. And that I want to spend whatever time I have left by your side. If you'll have me. Silence. I'm not proposing. He continued quickly. Not now. You just got out of a 33-year marriage. You need time. I get that. But I want you to know that I'm here. That I'll always be here. That I'm not going anywhere. I looked at him. At the man I had let go 40 years ago. At the man who had waited for me all this time. At the man who had saved me when I thought I was lost. Paul. I said. What? Shut up and kiss me. He laughed and he kissed me. A kiss 40 years in the making. A kiss of second chances. A kiss of new beginnings. When we broke apart, I was crying. But they were good tears. Tears of happiness. I chose wrong the first time, I said. But this time, I'm going to choose right. Are you sure? I smiled. 40 years of sure. We held each other for a long time in the middle of the empty living room, the wine glasses forgotten on the table. I didn't know what the future would bring. I didn't know if I would ever truly forgive Greg. I didn't know if Amanda would one day look at her brother without anger. I didn't know if the wounds would heal or if they would leave scars forever. But I knew one thing. I had survived. I had survived the poisoned coffee, the treacherous husband, the cowardly son. I had survived 33 years of lies and an attempt to erase me from existence. And now I was here in the arms of a man who truly loved me, with a daughter who was my best friend, with a business I had built from the ground up. It wasn't a happy ending. It was a new beginning. And sometimes a new beginning is everything you need. He wanted to give me poison. I gave him prison. I thought I knew my husband. I thought I knew my son. Life showed me that you only truly know people when they have to choose a side. If you've made it this far, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories.